One of the McDonald's main areas of expertise is the real estate market. That may surprise you, as who hasn't indulged in a Happy Meals fleeting but a memorable joy at least once? You may think of McDonald's as a fast food joint serving burgers and fries, but there's a lot more to it than that. In this video, we will learn more about McDonald's and how it became the world's second largest fast food company without focusing on food. A Gaelic name Donald is combined with the English word son to form the surname MacDonald. The name Donald comes from the Gaelic for ruler of the world, while the Mac part indicates that the combination of the two words is seriously foreboding. Though one should understand that New Hampshire natives Richard and Maurice MacDonald should be on the list, the position of world rulers in this story. They moved west to California in the 1920s and tried to make it big with a movie theater and hot dog stand. But the Great Depression was too much for them. Opening a barbecue restaurant in San Bernardino was their first great accomplishment. Almost all eateries back then were managed by mom and dad, meaning that the company prepared the food at each establishment somewhat differently. Roller skated servers were all the rage at drive-ins back in the day, but they could have been more efficient. The wait time for your order was at least 30 minutes, and even then, they botched it half the time. While the McDonald's barbecue successfully brought in money for the brothers, they knew there was a space for growth. After 8 years at the helm, the brothers realized that hamburgers, fries, and drinks made up most of their earnings. Therefore, they decided to remodel it completely. After determining which dishes were most popular with customers, they removed the rest from the menu and rearranged the kitchen to make room for the best sellers. The brothers could accommodate customers' orders in as little as a quarter of a minute once the cooking process took on the appearance of an assembly line. They abandoned the drive-thru concept in favor of a counter service establishment and did away with traditional tableware in favor of paper plates and cutlery. Their eatery emerged overnight, capturing people's interest from around the United States. One of the men they convinced to join the company was named Ray Kroc. By age 15, he had coned his way into World War I service with the Red Cross as an ambulance driver. The fact that he and Walt Disney both served in France is intriguing, but the two men lost touch after the war ended. Like most people who grew up in the decades after World War II, Ray had a varied work history that included stints as a jazz pianist, radio disc jockey, and paper cup salesman. The beginning of the 1950s saw him traveling the nation in an unsuccessful bid to sell expensive milkshake equipment. However, the McDonald brothers themselves placed an order for 8 of them in 1954, and he fulfilled the order. As soon as Ray arrived in San Bernardino, he was captivated by the restaurant and offered to franchise it. What do you think of the video so far? We would love to hear your thoughts on McDonald's backstory in the comments section. Hopefully, you're enjoying the content. If you want more videos like this one, remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's go back to the video. The McDonald brothers had opened 20 franchise locations then, but they were all struggling to meet the original success. The brothers decided to give Ray a go, and wow, was that a good choice. He was like a general in conducting his company, picking and selecting franchises with extreme care. Although the McDonald brothers were effectively operating their own company, Ray built 100 McDonald's outlets in under 6 years. After getting sick of them taking 0.5% of all sales for doing nothing while blocking Ray's suggestions for improving the business, Ray fired them. Ray thought of a brilliant strategy to knock them out of the running. He planned to lease the land on which he would build his future restaurants to independent business owners who had signed on as franchises. This allowed Ray to keep most of the company's profits while leaving the McDonald brothers with nothing. This caused the brothers a lot of heartache, but because one could do nothing, they finally agreed to sell their business to Ray for $2.7 million in 1961. Ray accelerated his plans to change the company he had long wanted to make once his siblings were no longer in the way. These included things like updating the company logo and creating a mascot. Also, in 1965, he introduced the Filet-O-Fish, and in 1968, he introduced the Big Mac, expanding the menu's range. Ray introduced the latest iteration of the Golden Arches logo the same year Ray opened its 1,000th restaurant. McDonald's expansion would continue in the United States and globally over the following decades. It was the first fast food chain to introduce a breakfast sandwich to the public when the Egg Muffin debuted in 1972. Chicken McNuggets and the Happy Meal were introduced, helping solidify McDonald's position as the world's leading distributor of toys. Although Ray had passed away by 1988, when they hit the landmark of 10,000 restaurants, the company continued to grow in his absence. McDonald's franchisees had a top-notch education at the famous Hamburger University, and the world widely recognized their managers as among the best in the fast food industry. This enabled them to maintain their lead over competitors like Burger King and Wendy's. We're all very aware of the current McDonald's menu, which has gradually enlarged over time. The brand had its first significant renovation since the 1970s when the Forever Young motif was initially introduced. The dining areas in these homes include plush couches and armchairs. In 2006, the eatery got this refurbishment. The last time businesses received such a comprehensive update was in the 1970s. With around 45,000 outlets, Subway has surpassed McDonald's as the biggest restaurant chain in the world. About 15% are owned by the company outright, while the remainder is franchisees. Most company revenue comes from company-owned and operated restaurants, but this only tells part of the story. The cost of running your diner far outweigh those of just collecting rent. In 2014, company-operated McDonald's restaurants generated $18.2 billion in sales, but the fast food giant was only permitted to keep $2.9 billion, while franchises brought in $9.2 billion in sales. The company kept $7.6 billion, or an incredible 80%. So, it may look like the McDonald's staff is busy flipping burgers, but they're actually flipping real estate. That's all for today. So what do you think of twists in McDonald's history? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this content, remember to give this video a thumbs up, share, and subscribe if you still need to. See you at the next one. And cut!